remember I said I finished, Cecile and I were the class of 48.
Yes.
But they wouldn't give me my diploma. And I went to see the registrar. His name was Whitehead. And I went to see the registrar. And the registrar said, you don't have physical education. I said, yeah, but they told me I was a veteran. I didn't have to take it. And he says, no, it's not so. You have to have it. So I said, I went to the dean, the veterans dean, who is now the dean of the college. And I said, I know he's going to be okay because he's the one that said I didn't have to take it. I walked in his office and I said, I need you to tell him what you told me. And he said, I don't remember telling you that. Well, of course, in those days, what are you going to do? You know, he was the administrator. So I got a little bit angry with him, and I went back to Whitehead, and Whitehead told me that as long as he was there, I wasn't going to graduate. And I said, well, you're not going to live forever. So I walked out without my degree. I marched with Cecile, but I didn't get my degree in 48. But that worked fine because when I went back, and after Whitehead did retire, I went back and negotiated. And they had me say, well, if you take this course, and that's when I had a year with Sterling Brown.
Oh, fantastic.
And not only is he a great, great teacher of English literature, but also he had the best jazz collection. And I still have. I have about 278 RPM jazz records.
Wow.
And I used to go over to his place and he put them on tape. And so he lived in Brookland.
Yes.
And so I used to, that was good to go to Sterling
Yes.
Brown. So I got my
Not
degree
bad.
a little
You were
later,
Sterling
at 54.
Brown. Yes.
But I went over looking in the federal government for a job in mathematics, in geometries. So I went to the Naval Research Lab in Anacostia, D.C.
Yes.
That's your first
yes,
apartment.
that's right.
Yeah. And when I got in there, of course, you go see the physicist that's doing the work. So this physicist was working on radar antenna design. And in those days, they felt like the best radiator for radar was going to be a helices.
Yes. Which is?
Which is like a corkscrew.
Yes, okay.
And
okay.
so, being that my other, aside from David Blackwell's mathematical statistics, was differential geometry. I love geometries, and so he and I talked, and he was genuine. He wanted me to come to work for him, and helping design these new helices for the radar antennas. And so he took my Form 57, which was the government employment form, and he says, I'll send it down to the office and they'll call you in a couple of days. I said, well, my wife and I run out of money because the GI Bill had stopped. We're now in June or July of 1948. Mm-hmm. And Cecile's family supported her while she was in school. She graduated, so that stopped. And so I was running out of money. The landlady was a black preacher and his wife. She was very good. And so they knew we were running out of money, so she said, you don't pay me rent until you get a job. And, well, it's okay. I said, appreciate that. But then she used to leave bags of groceries on the steps. Oh. She didn't want to embarrass us.
Yes.
Well, I went back home and I called back out and they said, we don't have your Form 57. So I went back, caught the trolley, went back out to the Naval Research Lab, and I did that 3 times. And I never heard from him. And I called up the physicist and he said, they should have called you by now. Well, when I went back out the 4th time, I knew that they weren't losing it or misplacing it. I knew that they were just tossing it. But I went back out because I didn't have nothing else. Yes. I didn't have anything else to go for. So I went back out and put my Form 57 in, and then I got on a trolley car to come back home. And I know it sounds like a fairy tale, but it is. Somebody left 1 page of the Afro-American newspaper on the seat of the trolley. So I got on there. I was feeling pretty bad, and I remember that I had less than we had somewhat less than $7 left.
Whoa!
In my pocket. And I picked up this newspaper and was just casually reading it, and I looked, and there was a box in this newspaper that said, the U.S. Geological Survey hiring mathematicians, physicists, and chemists. I got a transfer off the trolley line and went on out, caught the F Street trolley. And it went on out there, and I got off at 18th and Pennsylvania Avenue, walked down to the building, and walked into the office because they gave you the room number. And I went in there with a woman, and here was this white Irish woman, and she was so upbeat and jovial. She made me feel good. She said, "Come on in." And I said, "My God, it's so different from where I just came from." You know, and sat down, and so we started talking, and I filled out the form for her, 57 and everything else. She looked it over, and she said, her name was Bert Malmood.
You remember her?
Yeah,
Yes, of course you would.
This day. She died about 5 or 6 years ago. But anyway, she looked it over, and she says, "Oh, you were in the Air Force. You flew in the Air Force." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you won't get sick." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, there's a group trying to start what they call airborne geophysics that is just beginning to pull themselves together, and you're a mathematician. You don't have any geology." And I said, "No, I don't have any geology." I said, "I did. I took one course. I took a course at Michigan with a guy who wrote the book on historical geology. And I only did that because it was a 7 o'clock in the morning class, and they turned all the lights off to shine, to show the picked slides, and you could sleep. And then you could read the book and pass the course. So Russell B. Hussey was the guy who wrote the textbook and gave the lectures at Michigan. So she looked at it and she said, "Well, you go on out there," and told me I had to ride to the Cabin John, into the trolley line, Pennsylvania Avenue, in Cabin John, Maryland, which also had the amusement park, which was segregated. You couldn't go to it.